All right, Miss Lydia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
And my name is Lydia Jones Fawcett. I I moved here in 1996. The reason I moved here was because my son had asthma, and the two houses that we lived in had carpet, and he stayed sick all the time. And so I decided one day to try to save some money to try to find me a house. So I did. From an accident, I got a little bit of money, and I had enough for a down payment. But my son started going to the babysitter when he was 3 weeks old. I went back to work when I was 3 weeks. He was 3 weeks old when I went back to work. And the babysitter lived on this side, but she lived in on Floyd Street in the apartments over there. So in my route, I started coming this way. And one day I seen a for sale sign. So I stopped and I came and looked in the window, and I had like a vision or a dream. And when I looked in the window, this room was made up like my dream. So I said, "This is the house. It had wood floors." So I said, "This is the house." I said, "I won't have to worry about carpet because he won't be sick anymore." And so then I called about the house, and I got it. And his sickness with the asthma, it got better because he went in a house with a lot of carpet that was you couldn't clean. So the neighborhood was fine when on this end. This end was always great, but on the other end, crossing over Tucker going towards Mebane Street was a mess. Some days you couldn't even get through without stopping, waiting for people to get out the street. And it was like they had no respect for anybody that came through. And on the street, we had a lot of different things that was going on. And I guess it was just terrible. And during that time, I was a new Christian. I hadn't been too long to accept Christ as my personal Savior. And at that time, I was really deep into the Word, and all I wanted was God. And that's all I talked about. That's all I did at that time, and took care of my son. But it was so heartbreaking just to see the peoples over here and how they lived, and it was a little bit different from the way I live. But anyway, so I started praying over this street. I would go out and throw oil and anoint the street. And we had card houses, we had liquor houses, we had drug dealer, drug houses all over that street. Some of that stuff left. And that was just a thrill. It made me happy because the cars weren't parked everywhere from Thursday to Monday morning, everywhere, at those houses. So that was a good thing. And as you know, my son grew up here. It was a little rough because I was a single parent. I got married in 2000, no, in 99 I got married. It was a bad marriage. It didn't last long. Uh, but I prayed, asked for guidance, and God always was with me. He was there with me all the time. Things were hard, but even with my son, we went through some things with him. He got in his head that he should smoke marijuana, he should sell marijuana, but he couldn't give me a reason why. He never went without. He never lived like some of his friends. He always had a house, uh, food, clothes. I denied myself. I put myself on the back, and I put him forward. I made sure that he was taken care of with his needs. He never got everything he wanted, but his needs was taken care of. And when he got older, I asked him, I said, "Why are you trying to sell marijuana?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "You got a car to drive, you got a house, you got food, you get what you need. Why?" But to say why, it's just the environment. Uh, he was around marijuana, alcohol, cursing. He didn't steal it from anybody. I mean, that was just something that was a part of majority of people that low income deal with. We really do. there's a way out other than that, and that's what I try to teach him. You don't have to do that. Use the brain that God gave you. And he was a smart boy. He really was smart. He could do anything with them hands. He loved animals. And I told him he could be a vet if he wanted to be, but life took us another direction. You know, with when his life was taken away, it was the kids was always here ever since he was small. My house was always full of little boys. They spend the weekend. They cook in my kitchen. They do whatever they want to do. But one night, his friends spent the night, two of them, and this was in 2012. And that morning he got up, he went to the store, because I had been fussing at him. I said, why don't you ever think about buying something for the house, some washing powder, some toilet paper, paper towels, something, help me out. So that morning he got up, him and one of his friends had spent the night, they went to the store, he come back with a great big bag of dog food, a big roll of paper towels. I'm saying, what is going on? And then he said, well, Mom, I'm going to go out one more time. I said, well, go on. I'm going to go to Bible study after a while. So he come back. And so one of his friends was still laying on the couch. The other one was in and out with Keyvet. And so when he got back the last time, I said, well, I'm going to Bible study. So I left them three here. So I went and picked up my cousin, and we went to Bible study. And no, we didn't. We go back and tell the truth. You don't have to put it in, you can if you want to. We went to the sweepstakes. That's what we did. We went to the sweepstakes. Me and my cousin went to the sweepstakes. Now we left the sweepstakes, we were going to Bible study. And we was on the way to pick up another cousin. And that was about 6 o'clock. I left here about 1 o'clock that day. About 6 o'clock, I got a call that said my son had been shot. But even before then, it was like God was showing me that something was going to happen with my baby. Because the Spirit kept saying, Keyvet, which that's his middle name, gun, G-U-N, Keyvet, gun. And I'm saying, what in the world? You know, what do that mean? Keyvet, gun. But the Spirit just kept saying it, you know, over and over and over every day, Keyvet, gun. And I said, normally I tell him what God beat and showed me, but this time I said, I can't talk to him about that. You know, that hurt to even think about my son going to be involved in something when it comes to a gun. And like I said, I got the call about 6. And so when I got the call, I told my cousin, I said, he's dead. And my cousin said, don't say that. I said, I know he is. I know he is. Because, you know, I had already got that small voice saying that. And so my cousin got on the sternum hood and drove here. But by the time we got here, it was so many people here. It was just like a dream. But I knew he was gone. No matter what, you know, they had him in the rescue squad and they was working on him, but he was dead. And that day was October the 23rd. That was a really hard day to even try to even think about. I mean, the pain goes, but the pain comes back. It's hard to tell the story sometimes. Sometimes it's easy. Because that was my world. That was all I had. That was all I had. So, later on, a couple of years later, somebody said to me about a meeting somewhere about crime, stopping the crime. I can't remember exactly the order of what it was with the Brooklyn Police Department. So I said, you know, we talk all the time about somebody need to do something. And so I realized one day somebody was me. It's time for me to do something. I mean, I may not can do much, but whatever I can do. And before my son got killed, there were several of his friends that got killed. Lives were taken. Matter of fact, one guy came over here 2 days later. He was dead. He got killed at the park over off of Raw Hut. And him and my son played the recreation basketball together when they was little boys. Uh, it was just seemed like one death after another. His cousin, before my son got killed, they found him in the woods when somebody had shot him in the head. He was, I think, about 17. I mean, it was just like one death after another with these young kids. And we talk about Black Lives Matter, but when it comes to Black lives being taken, it's mostly black people killing black people. And I think we need to sit down and just think about that and see what we could do with our children. I mean, it's like they're lost, and I don't know why they feel like they can go out here and take a person's life and still be able to walk around and be free. No, there's consequences that come with taking people's lives. You can't do that. You can't do that. And I think that's what happened when those guys came to my house and shot my son, because my neighbor video shows that they pulled that up at 5 minutes to 6. And at 6 o'clock, they were pulling away. Mm. Two came, and they didn't even know my son. They was looking for his friend that had left my house to do a drug transaction with some marijuana. And they claimed that he took their money and ran because my son wouldn't tell them where they was at. He was at. They shot my son 4 times on my steps in front of all his friends. There were 5 other kids out there. Some, the first time ever being at my house, one of the little Spanish girls, first time she had ever been here. And one of his friends got shot in the leg. That is something that I felt like if I could do anything to prevent that happening to somebody else. And I don't want to hear somebody else being in a place that I'm in, because you never get over that. You never get past it. You endure it. You go on with life, or life goes on. But when I started going with Brooklyn Police Department, they had sessions all over the county, and I tried to go to as many as I could about stopping violence. And we did a lot of talking. It was a lot of talk, a lot of meetings. But we actually, what can we do to prevent this? What can we do to stop all this violence? So I came out. To, if nothing else, have a conversation with some of the young people when I see them, to share my story and to tell them there's a way out. You don't have to go that route. And to some of the peoples I've talked to, they come back and they share with me that they thank me for sharing with them. They give me hugs. And that made me think maybe I touched somebody's heart on sharing my story. And the Morristown group started in 2017. Miss Joyce Moore, her grandson, was murdered on Avon down near Megan Street. Again, I was coming from the sweet state. And I seen all these police cars and blue lights, and I said, what in the world has happened? So I said, I'm gonna park my car and walk down. And before I got down the hill, the Spirit spoke to me and said, that's one of your babies. I called him my baby. I met him several years ago. And how I met him was I was at the store at the corner, and he was just cursing. And I said, oh no, there's no respect there. So I said, when I go out the store, I'm gonna say something to him. So when I went out the store, the Spirit said, So I had to change what I was gonna say. So I said, He said, no, ma'am. I said to myself right then, somebody done taught him some manners. And he done went from cursing, now he said, no, ma'am. And then he looked at my car and he said, that's Low Key's car. That, that's your son. I said, yeah. He said, that was my friend. And he gave me a hug. From that day forward, I called him my baby and he called me mama. Every time I see him, if we got close to each other, we hugged. That was Miss George's grandbaby. That night, when I went down there, they were saying who he was, and I didn't even know he was George's grandson until that night. All I know, he was my friend. I knew his lifestyle, but that didn't matter to me. I looked at his heart, and he was a sweet person to me. So that night, I walked down across the street because somebody said Joyce is over there, so I wanted to speak to her. And she was so upset she couldn't drive her van. She couldn't even get in touch with her son. So I told her I would take her. So I drove her to her son's house. From there, we started talking about something needed to be done. But Miss Joyce had said she wanted to start a scholarship fund in honor of her grandson, Demaris. What's his name? Money. G Money. But anyway, that's when we started. And before that, I had been talking to a lot of different organizations about getting something started in the community, us coming together. And like I said, all I heard was talk. We talk at the meetings. And so that's when George had got together with the pastor down at 70 Adventist Church, Philadelphia, 70 Adventist Church. And I went to the meeting. And everybody decided we were going to start something. But we met, we had meetings. We couldn't get nowhere with the name. We couldn't get nowhere with the leader. We just kept on and on. Went forward. But we still was doing a lot of talking. We still wasn't doing anything. So we started the Morristown Task Force. And so Donna Van Hook came on board, and we voted her in as the leader. So time went on. We did at the Burleson Assembly of God. We did two. What was that? We had two events for the jobs there at not the Caribbean Kitchen, but the church first, Brothers Assembly. And we did several community fun days in the community. And we did a grief event for people that had lost loved ones, not only in the community, but just anywhere. We had it at Burleson Assembly of God. And today, we're called the Morristown Community Group. We changed leaders. I'm the chairperson now, and Derek Clark is the co-chair. Since we've been in leadership, we've done quite a bit. We did 3 care package. We went door to door. We had so many people to volunteer to join us, and it was just amazing to see all the people that came out. We also did a cleanup day, and that was amazing too. Even the Mayor Pro Tem, Chief Broward Police Department, and several others. We had the city manager that came out, and I also volunteered to work with different ministers that came, different churches. I mean, it was just awesome to me to know that people's hearts has been touched by just hearing a little bit about what we are doing or trying to do in Morristown. We're trying to get a community garden started. We got our youth group that we're working with crafts. Um, it's just a lot that we would like to do, and there's a lot of things we like to see. Since we started doing the cleanup, and we do that quite often, me and the kids, we go out. And since we've been cleaning up, we see a difference in the community with some of the people cleaning up around their own homes. And that's what we wanted. We wanted people to adopt the street that they live on in this community. So we wouldn't have to get out and clean up. But I see a difference in that. I also see a difference in the drug houses, the people's on the street. You could drive through now, and you don't have to stop and wait for people to get out the street. At one point in time, I could see them selling the drugs right in my face. I mean, it's like they didn't care if I come down and see them passing drugs and money. But it's not quite as bad now. It's still here, but it's not as bad. And another one of the main things I would like to see is us to put more attention on these babies. I mean, because their products are their environment, and sometimes it's not nice. I mean, if you really get out here in the community, you'll see that it ain't as pretty as people think, and in some cases, not as bad as they think. But in order to know, you have to be out there. And sometimes you see the kids, and you want to help all of them, but you can't. I mean, I wish I could put them all in my van, but I can't. I can only do a few. We need some more help in the community with these kids. Not only in Martown and Tucker Street, everywhere. The kids need help. They truly do. I mean, sometimes, and I try to teach them the best I can about their manners. You can't say this, you can't do that, even though that's what they live. When they come out of the apartments, it's like they're in a different world. And they said they don't like living in Tucker Street apartments, the kids that's over there. They don't like me calling them Tucker Street babies. And I said, well, I just call you my babies. So, I mean, I enjoy what I do. I wish I could do more to see a change in this community a little bit more. I wish we could get jobs for the people that's has got felons, that records, that feel that they can't get a job, they can't survive, that they can't live a normal life. But there is programs already in place to help these people. And hopefully Morristown Community Group will be a part of that change in the new year, working with the organization Crosstown with Phil Bowers, that we will, if we just get a few off the street, because that's some of our problem right there is people that don't have jobs. And not only that, with mental issues also. We got a lot of people on the street with mental illness. And I guess sometimes we just look past it. We say, we'll say something out here when we see them, but it may not be that way. Because we don't know their background. We don't know what they went through. Because everybody has past. And everybody, when you come into this world, you're in a different house. So we don't know why they living that way, or why they going through the things they going through. What else I need to say?